With Berglund, I'm not sure that there is a player in the prospect pool that increased his stock more this season than Jack Berglund.
On Thursday, the Philadelphia Flyers announced, well, one of their future prospects is joining the organization here in North America. Second round pick from 2 years ago, Jack Berglund has signed his entry level contract with the Flyers. It does not begin till 2026-27. He will report to the Phantoms for the rest of this season. So we will get to see him at least some in the AHL as Phantoms attempt to make the Calder Cup playoffs. We'll see how it goes.
Hasn't been going too well.
You know, when you take away like a bump and a barky, maybe you hurt their chances a little, but I'm kind of liking what we're getting in the NHL.
I'd
So you
rather
live
have
with
him
it.
up here.
So Jack Berglund, second round pick in 2024, 6'4", 210-pound left-handed center. Charlie, what exactly kind of player are the Flyers getting in Berglund, or the Phantoms for now?
Yeah, well, I think with Berglund, I'm not sure that there is a player in the prospect pool that increased his stock more this season than Jack Berglund. Like, Porter Martone had an awesome year at Michigan State, but his stock was already sky high. Everybody already thought he was a top 10, top 5 prospect in the entire league. It's not like, he could go much higher than he was. Berglund was a guy who was kind of on the borderline of relevancy, and this year he played himself into being a very, very relevant prospect for the Philadelphia Flyers. Number one, he got a bigger role with his SHL team, Faristad. Over the course of the year, it got bigger and bigger. By the end of the year, he was an every night player, getting a decent amount of minutes. But even more importantly than that, Berglund was awesome at the World Junior Championships. He captained Team Sweden to the gold medal, 3 goals, 7 assists in 7 games. He was legitimately one of the best players in that tournament. Now, he was on the older end of players in that tournament. You expect a guy in his Draft Plus 2 season to be one of the better players in that tournament, but he was. He was a leader. He did all the little things for that team. He did a lot of big things for that team. And Berglund went, in my estimation, for maybe being more of like a guy I would rank somewhere and say that like 12 to 15 range in the prospect pool. Now he's very clearly a top 10 prospect, and I don't know if he's that far away from being NHL ready.
Yeah, and in terms of being one of the older guys at World Juniors, listen, he has 10 points in 7 games. He captained Sweden to the gold medal. Great stuff. I will say, like, he turns 20 on April 10th, so probably when you're listening to this, he signed a day before his 20th birthday with the Flyers. It's not as if he's like Cam York, who turned 20 like the day of the gold medal game. I think that the year they won it, maybe the day before, something like that. But so he is a little bit on the older side. But yeah, it does feel like his stock really increased from when they took him. It was, all right, heavy boots, some good work around the net. We'll see what he turns into. Probably a bottom 6 center in the NHL, but a project to, oh yeah, he's playing in the SHL, and sure, 7 goals, 5 assists in 40 games doesn't sound like a ton. He's also on one of the deeper teams from what I have seen in the SHL, and also from what I know about the SHL, it's basically soccer. It's all 1-0 games. That's basically my understanding of it. He did add 3 assists in 7 playoff games, and he was kind of a bounce between the SHL in previous seasons, but he only played 2 games for their U20 team this past season, put up 3 assists, and they're like, all right, you're up here now.
No, he was an SHL regular. They had a coaching change midway through the year. They got a guy from actually from Carolina Hurricane system. He used to be their AHL coach. Went over, started coaching that team, and basically just fell in love with Berglund. Started using him a ton. Turned him into an every night guy who was getting 10 minutes plus a night. I've long been a skeptic of Jack Berglund. I didn't love the pick when they made it. I looked at him like, bottom 6er all the way. I don't know if I've necessarily changed my opinion. Like, I don't know if I see top half of the lineup upside. The Flyers internally have thrown around the comparison of Michael Handzus, which would be awesome. Handzus was a good 2C in his prime. I don't know if I see that quite as much, but I now can see him as a very, very solid third line center. And I feel like there's a difference between saying like, hey, this guy is a solid third line center and this guy is a bottom 6er. Like, I don't think of Noah Cates as a bottom 6er, even though I mostly want him playing in the bottom 6. I think of Noah Cates as a darn good third line center, and that might be what Jack Berglund can ultimately become. I become more confident that that's what he can ultimately become over the course of this past year.
From the Elite Prospects Draft Guide from 2024, it was written, with the puck, Berglund is inside-driven, decisive, and patient in equal measures, able to move the puck with pace or wait patiently as plays develop before making his decision. He can spin off checks along the wall, work the give-and-go game and to gain the inside, and cut through traffic to get quality looks. It's a guy who controls the pace of the game and makes plays around the net, and who doesn't need that? Also, he's a center, but that brings me to the next question, Charlie. He's going to finish out the year in the AHL. His ELC does not kick in next year, so he'll have a chance until next year. So he'll have a chance to make this team in camp. Can he actually play for the Phantoms if he doesn't, though?
Okay, so here's how things are set up now. Right now, the answer to your question is no, because he's still under contract with Faristad, his SHL team, for one more season after this. And generally speaking, when you have one of these situations where two contracts run simultaneously, which they will in 2016-17, the clause in the deal is, okay, if you make the NHL team, you stay. If you are sent down at the end of camp, you get loaned back to Faristad for that final season of his contract with his SHL club. That is technically the rule. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it has to happen. What can happen is the two teams can come to an agreement. And by two teams, I mean the Flyers and Berglund's SHL team. Let's say Berglund looks real close. Yeah, he maybe doesn't quite make the team, but it's more of a numbers game than anything else. And they figure, hey, this kid might be up in November, December. Maybe they come to an agreement with Faristad where he gets sent down. They put him in Lehigh Valley, and his SHL team's okay with it. It's similar kind of what happened with Emil Andre in the year when he came over. So Andre still had one more year left on his SHL deal as well. Andre actually made the Flyers out of camp. He made the team out of camp. It was a bit of a surprise. But then after a few weeks, it became clear he wasn't quite ready for the NHL. Technically, the Flyers would have had to, had they not come to an agreement with his team, they would have had to send him back to Sweden, to loan him back to Sweden to play with his SHL team. The Flyers and his SHL club came to an agreement. They were able to send him down to the minors, and Andre stayed in North America. So not a guarantee that he's going to be able to play for Lehigh Valley, but a pretty darn good chance, because usually NHL teams have good relationships with SHL teams. It's certainly not like the KHL where the two groups have to go through back room, smoky room negotiations. It's a little bit more upfront with the NHL and the SHL. Usually the relationships are good. So not certain that he's NHL or bust next year, but it's pretty likely now that he'll be able to play in the AHL, I would say.
Now, potentially, the Phantoms could be adding. They've already added Cole Knuble to their lineup.
Right.
Now Berglund joins them. Jet Luchenko should be, one of the guys in the mix next year.
He's turning pro next
year.
They
could all have a chance to make this team. And even a few weeks ago, you and I were talking like one of these guys could be the 4C for this team next year. Yeah. Now that Zegras, the center experiment, seems to be going pretty well, read Charlie's article about it on allphly.com, and Sean Couturier has embraced the role of 4C, do you see it a lot less likely one of them is on the roster next year, or any of them are on the roster next year to start the year?
Not necessarily. I think there is a clear spot, and that clear spot is Luke Glendening. Luke Glendening, they claimed him. Now, Glendening is not playing a strict center role.
Yeah.
He's been playing some wing, playing some center. Him and Couturier share duties more or less. But I could easily see, a Berglund or a Luchenko, because I'm not expecting them to re-sign Glendening. It seems unlikely to me. His contract expires at the end of the year. I think they'll just do a thank you for your service and let him go try to find another job. He's certainly been impressive, and I guess you can't rule out the possibility of them re-signing him because he has been pretty good, but they know they got kids coming. Yeah. It would not shock me if the Flyers look at it as, okay, well, if Couturier is going to be our 4C or our 4 left wing, they've been playing at wing too, that opens up a spot maybe for a Berglund, for a Luchenko, Cole Knuble. Maybe they'll re-sign Rodrigo Abels. Like, they just make it an open competition and see who wins it. They think Berglund's pretty close. Now, I think Berglund could probably benefit from maybe playing a bigger role on his SHL team, maybe getting a year in the AHL. I don't think you have to throw him in there.
Yeah.
But he's looked real good this past year, and I know in conversations with people in the Flyers organization, they don't think it's crazy to think that there's a chance he could make this team out of camp, Jack Berglund, I mean.
Just looking at the Glendening role, as you said, well, there's a spot on the fourth line right there for you. One thing about Glendening, the reason he was brought in is they have no right-handed centers. He's the only right-handed center they have.
Yeah.
Berglund lefty. Knubel and Luchenko both righties. Sure. Now, this can't be the only determining factor. If he's just better, I bet you they find a spot for him.
I agree.
But it is one of those things to just watch. And it's an interesting situation for the Flyers right now as we see guys graduating to the NHL. You know, Martone totally skips the AHL. They call up Barkey and Bump. And now the plan's starting to come a little more into focus. These aren't the high-end guys.
No.
But, I mean, Berglund's second-round pick, who's raised his stock, now they're replenishing. And this is the thing I feel like we haven't seen happen in years past when it's like, all right, Sanheim's up and Ghost is up and this stuff's starting to take shape. Except, okay, what's the next wave? Well, there isn't one. Connor Bunneman and all the Terensky and all the guys.
Lisinski,
yeah,
Terensky,
all the guys with the exact same name. Yeah, all the ski name. Like, okay, yeah, they're maybe fourth liners, maybe not even NHLers.
Yeah.
This is like a clear, we're graduating guys, and then there's another wave behind them. It's an exciting time for the Flyers. So we'll see how it all works out with Berglund. We'll get a taste of him in the AHL, see if they can clear it up with his SHL team. But I think that's it, Chuck. I think that is all the time we have for you on the Shootout. Make sure you're following us right here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. I'm Bill. That's Charlie. Thank you, Brenna. Be excellent to each other.